from a brain perspective, can you explain like what parts of the brain are impacted and what PTSD does to our brain as far as how it functions?
Yeah. So this is going to really focus on the limbic system, which is funny to me because interesting to me because we talk about this in the context of addiction a lot. And so some of these terms are going to be familiar, but their function is going to look a little bit different. And so it mostly involves the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. And what's going to happen is that because basically when a partner has a disclosure or goes through disclosure, has a discovery, any of those things, that the amygdala is going to signal that alarm, much like it does with our fight or flight response to danger. And so our amygdala activity is going to increase. And especially where it comes to, like we've been talking about, fear and anxiety and panic and some of these things that are going to kind of ramp us up a little bit. But the other thing that's going to happen is that the hippocampus, which is all about our memory formation and retention, that is going to decrease in its ability. And so then you're going to be like in this panicked, alarmed state, but you're not going to be able to remember things. It's almost like the stress, and this is a very complex system. And so I'm only just giving you a little bit. But, all of these things are going to start happening that are going to decrease your memory, ramp up your emotional response to things. And then also, because of that, it's going to inhibit the connection that our limbic system has with our prefrontal cortex. So basically, our prefrontal cortex isn't going to be helping us. So our decision-making, planning, impulse control, rational thought, all of those things that's not going to be connected to what we're feeling now.
So are you saying that we are more often limbically responding when PTSD has impacted the brain? Is that what you're saying?
For sure. Yeah. But even more so because it's going to decrease our ability to create memory. It's going to or to even recall memory, which then gets a little bit murky too in this environment with the way that partners tend to think that, okay, well, now I'm going to, discovery just happened, disclosure just happened, and I'm going to rethink our entire relationship because now I think that everything that you've ever told me is a lie. Well, that's going to get a little bit murky because your memory retention is inhibited in this process. And so, just to give you a little bit of an idea, but it really does have this huge impact on our brain and then physiologically too with our cortisol levels and the way that the stress of all of this impacts us. Yeah. And sometimes partners can stay in this hypervigilant, alarm going off state for quite some time. Yeah.
So it sounds like PTSD can look very different for different people because if it's kind of limbically driven, that fight, flight, or freeze, for some PTSD could look very much like just totally shut down and withdrawn. Mm-hmm. For others, it could look like very angry and, just lashing out. Right. And others, it may look like constantly running away, disappearing, like you said, leaving the kids and just going to the bar. That those could all be, though they look very different, could all be how someone is dealing with PTSD. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And again, you're looking for behaviors that are different than what existed before. You know what I mean? So even if you have I can think of situations where maybe you have a person who, they always speak their mind, or they, a partner, and then all of a sudden they're super quiet. Right? They have no opinions about anything. In fact, they start withdrawing and their favorite, group that they love to go to every week, they stop going. You know what I mean? It's all of those things, but a lot of that is being controlled by what's going on in their brain.